Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator. Here on America's Next, I have Terrence, DJ T. Dub Walker here with me today. How you doing, Terrence?
I'm good, Mr. Riley. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing quite well. I hear a lot of respect and structure in your voice today. What do you do?
Well, professionally, I'm a teacher. I'm a math teacher, and also I'm a professional DJ. So it depends on which time of day, what hat I'm wearing. Right now, I'm in teacher mode, so everything is going to be. I'm still in that mode of Mister, Mrs. So
Right.
it just comes with the territory.
Got it. So you're a math teacher.
Yes, sir.
Did you always want to do that? How'd that come about?
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I want all my listeners, all your listeners to know. When I was in school, I hated math.
Mm-hmm.
I hated math to the point where I would do anything to get out of math. Mm-hmm. But there was this thing called football that if you wanted to play, especially in my mom's household, that you were going to do your work, and that consisted of making sure you passed math. And then at the time, they had it where you had to have no less than a 2.0 to play football. So if you had a 1.9, you couldn't play. You just couldn't play. They didn't care. So what happened is that made me want to do math. So I just pushed through to do math. And then went into sales. I did a bunch of different jobs, but my main thing was sales. And then I went to the technical side when I worked for Verizon. So you fast forward to the issues with Verizon, with them laying off and everything in 2010. So I transitioned into another job and I really enjoyed it. I was doing sales, commercial van and truck equipment, and I was making good money. It was fun. I was enjoying it. Right. But you know how sales are, Mr. Riley. You operate with a gun to your head. You know, you can have a great month, and on the 30th, that month is done. On the 31st, the books are tallied. But on the 1st, hey, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
So I transitioned after we had it was me, my sales manager, and we were just going back and forth. So it was to the point of being, you know how you get in a relationship when you know it's toxic and you need to leave?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with the job, with the career. Mm-hmm. I needed to leave. So I was going to go and work for another company doing, either the financial side, because I have a degree in finance. And one of my friends called and they were like, hey, I have an opening at my school, and I know you have your degree in finance and it's in math. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's do it. So they called me that Monday around 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I went, got dressed, and at the time I was in Virginia Beach.
Right.
So the job is in Richmond. So I talked to the principal and asked her, what time are you going to be there until? She said, I leave here at 5. I told her I'll be there at 3 o'clock. Right. So I went home, showered, got dressed, headed up to Richmond. I got there 2:45, did the interview on a Monday, showed up to work on Tuesday, did my paperwork downtown, took my tests and everything that afternoon. That Wednesday they hired me, and here I am, a math teacher.
Nice. One of the things that I like about math is that when it's really a tough subject, I mean, you can pick one. I mean, it's tough different places along the lines from K through 8. So I don't have to talk about calculus versus algebra. All of it's tough in certain spots.
True.
For me, it was one of those things where this is really under my skin because I need to understand it now, and I'm not going to be understanding it for the foreseeable couple weeks. But once you get it, you love it. You love it because it's created a new groove in your brain, and now it's something that you know how to go in there and figure out no matter how it looks. So my relationship with math was similar in that once I actually grasped the concept of something, I went from not liking it to absolutely loving it. So
that's so true. I tell my students, and I not see with me, and I know we're going to talk about this later. So I'll put it out so we can table it.
Go ahead.
I teach them more than math. I teach them numerical independence.
Let's go.
And when I tell, because I'm gonna keep it, real with you.
That's
Teach
what we do.
a lot of inner city kids. I look at them and I say, these are me. Each one of these kids are me 30 years ago, because I'm 45. So these kids are me 30 years ago. These kids are me that no one said you're going to do it. And these kids are me that basically the system is going to be like, oh, you know what? We don't need them. Don't worry about them. Push them through and they'll be on whatever social assistance and we're not going to worry about them. So I tell them, you have everything stacked against you. But if you listen to Mr. Walker, just listen to two things that I tell you. You will be successful for the rest of your life. I tell them each day. I speak positive affirmations to them, and I tell them to speak those to themselves and their peers, and I tell them to try.
Right.
Try. Okay. In our virtual classroom, I have a virtual, I guess you could say, whiteboard, and on my virtual whiteboard, it literally says, nothing beats a failure but a try. So that's one of my favorite sayings. And I tell them, if you try, you will accomplish much more than you ever thought. I said, if you put 25% effort into your work, I will back you 50%. If you put in 50%, I will back you 75. If you put in 75, I will back you 100. I said, but if you go all out and do everything possible to pass my class, do all the work, ask questions, participate, do your test, ask me questions, send me text, email when you don't understand, I will stand before God himself and tell him why you need to pass this class.
Right.
I said, do it, I will back you 110%. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
You said those were numerological lessons?
Yes. It's called numerical. See, I don't want to, because it's so funny.
Let's go.
It's funny when you hear it, but it's numerical independence.
Okay.
Numerical independence. And to the point of, and kids, they say, well, I don't get that, Mr. Walker. I say, can you speak Spanish? And they say, a little bit. Can you speak French? A little bit. I say, if aliens were to come to Earth, what could we teach? How would we communicate? And I gave them an extra credit quiz for this. I said, and each one of my guys, I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th. So I gave them extra credit. I said, if you can tell me what language we will use to communicate with aliens if they came, I'll give you 100 extra credit points. Right. I teach 22 7th graders, 25 6th, and 27 8th graders. Out of all of those kids, 5 gave me the answer. 3 of them were in my 6th grade class. Mm-hmm. They had saw the movie, I can't think of the name of it, with Jeremy Renner about aliens coming. I didn't even know it. I had to go watch it because they told me that it was in it. Mm-hmm. If aliens were to come, you know what language we would use to talk to them, Cedric?
Numbers.
We will use math, exactly. Yeah. Math is a universal language. It's universal to the point that it is universal.
Right.
From the depths of the universe to the grains of the sand. If I pick one planet and put another planet beside it, no matter how you divide it, or no matter how you add it, no matter how you subtract it, no matter how you calculate it, it's still going to be 2 planets. Mm-hmm. So numerically, we can talk to anyone. So I tell them, numbers are everywhere in everything that you want to be. I would tell them, give me a subject or whatever you want to do. So a guy said, I want to be a rapper. And everyone laughed. He said, there's no math in rapping. I said, well, that's where you're wrong. I said, because if you're a rapper and a studio or a label gives you $500,000 signing bonus and you go out and blow it, how are you going to make that money back? He said, I'm going to sell records. But if you sell records and you don't get the points that you deserve, how are you going to know how to get your points? How are you going to know how to budget your money? I said, everything has math in it.
That's right. Not to mention if it's your one big shot, you only get one chance to blow, like Eminem said, and they ask you for 16 bars, but you come with 25 and you trying to go back and break it down, you a few bars over, brother.
You are. And I tell them, I said, hey, so, and it's funny that you said that because one of the girls said, I want to be a chef. I said, oh, it's definitely math and chef. Math and culinary arts. I said, because to be a chef, I said, you have to know your grams, your ounces. I said, your milliliters, your liters. I said, you have to know this. I said, you have to know universal and the US metrics. I mean, metric and the US scale system. I said, so you have to know it.
Right.
And one of the guys said, well, I want to be a producer. I said, oh, it's plenty of math in production.
Right.
I said, how do you think they measure music? I said, they measure music 4 beats, per minute. I mean, per section. I said, you got to know the music scale, EGBDF. And if you have I forgot what it's called. I said, but you have to measure that, that using numbers. I said, so if that 4 beats doesn't go into that measure, it's not going to fit.
Right.
Same thing.
Now, I actually want to see if we can uncover something even deeper here when we talk about numerical independence.
Yes.
And we look at communities clear across the country where people are growing up without their mothers and their fathers. And the biggest challenge in life right now is how to be effectively independent. So how can we apply this concept that you're talking about, numerical independence, to everybody figuring out how to be more of a sturdy adult or just a sturdy individual when it comes to, being independent in this world?
All right. I can tell you. And for people who are listening, your audience, what I'm giving is my personal advice.
Let's go.
This is not anything that you are latent to listen to or to take. It is my personal advice, what I would do in any given situation, or ask a question like Mr. Riley asked. Having a degree and the certifications in finance, what I've learned is money, and people argue this with me. Money is not color based. It's objectively based. I say that because I can give a white kid $500 and I can give a black kid $500. If I give a white kid $500, he's going to put it in the bank. If I give some black kids $500, they're going to go buy the freshest clothes and try to look good. And this is why. It's no knock on the kid. I don't blame the kid, and I don't blame the parent. What I blame is what they were taught. Because if you don't know any better, you won't do any better. Mm-hmm. So the white kid, for let's go back 5 generations, was taught, take money, save, invest, learn, diversify, have money later on in the future. The black kid, because of generational, was taught, get it, spend it, you'll get more, you only live once. What's true in both cases is you only live once. This is true. Enjoy yourself now, but you do need to save. So what I teach my kids now is, all right, you kids get an allowance, or some of you get an allowance. So if you get $20, pay yourself $5, put 10 away, and invest in another 5. And they say, invest how? I say, everyone has an app. You can take $5 as a child, because there's no cap, no restriction, no age limit on investments. That's the one thing kids can do. Mm-hmm. You can take $5 and invest now. There are plenty of penny stocks. There are plenty of dollar stocks that you can get to. And I'm not saying, and again, this is just my personal opinion, mm-hmm. But kids, you can do this. So every time you get an allowance, pay yourself $5. That's something for you. Save 10, invest 5.
Right.
And what happens? Oh, go ahead.
Well, my mother used to say that to me as well, and it works. Just the part about saving more money than you spend.
Yes.
Every time your child gets money, whether you give it to them or somebody else gives it to them or they earn it, make them put more than half of it away.
Yes.
And then they can, make a wise purchase with the rest of it. So I really like that part. But can you give us your foolproof version of what to do with $500 right now for a young kid, and then let's talk about what should a young adult do with $500. If it was ideal, what would you say that they should do with it?
Okay, if my daughter was to get $500,
how old is she?
She's 15.
Okay,
she just turned 15 October 31st. If she was to get $500, I would ask her, 1, what are the things that you need? Well, Dad, no, I'll take care of your needs. So the needs are taken care of. Okay, what is it that you want? Well, Dad, I want, okay, well, I'll get that for you. So your wants are taken care of. So you still have $500. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Well, Dad, I want to, okay, this is what you should do. And I tell her all the time. You take that money and you break it down 100, 100, 100, 5 times. You take 100, you go and you and I, we look at what stocks we can invest in. Build you a portfolio. You take 200, start an IRA.
What's an IRA?
It's a long-term savings account. That's what I would tell her. Because and the reason I'm breaking it down, because I cannot give financial advice so
disclaimer for all of our listeners out there, watchers, viewers. First of all, thank you for getting in the building. We're talking to Terrence Walker today. He is a numbers-minded individual. He's not giving out financial advice, but we're having some fun because he's a math teacher and he deals with numbers.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I would tell them, okay, it's a long-term savings account. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, what I would tell her to do is to use your credit union. Don't use a bank. Use your credit union because the interest rates on the IRA are higher at a credit union, typically, and you want to do that. The last 100, I will tell her to put that in a savings account at a credit union because you get a higher yield on your return year after year. And every time she gets money, I would tell her to do that. The thing about money and the thing about everything that you want to do with money, you want to diversify it to the point where if one thing falls, another thing will cover that and you will be covered. So you never put, the whole old saying, you never put all your eggs in one basket. You never put all your money in one bank. You never put all your money in one investment. You never put everything into everything unless it's love and relationships and your work. When it comes to money, you want to diversify as much as possible. So I would tell her to spread it as thin as possible, but keep it thick. If you understand what I'm saying.
It makes sense. And so what I want to make crystal clear for everybody so far is that numbers are very relevant in your life. From the time you're young to the time you get older, the reality of numbers never leaves. It never, ever leaves. Today, when we look at our technological screens, they are compilations of numbers. It's a series of equations that makes the thing that we love so much. And so at some point, we have to begin to prioritize the numerological world as a way of achieving a bright future. So I'm appreciating everything that you're saying right now. As we save, and we're going to change subjects in a little bit, but as we save, do we also learn to invest? Do we invest more than we save? Because saving sits there. Investments allow your money to talk for you. And when we talk about investments, just one more piece. When we talk about investments, to what extent do we begin to identify local businesses and entrepreneurs that we can resonate with and invest with them, as opposed to putting our money in the stock market more often?
Okay, I'm gonna answer the second part first.
Yeah.
When we talk about investments and talk about investing locally, what you want to do is to find something that's, I hate to use this term, but something that's next level, that's groundbreaking, that requires an investment.
Okay.
Such as, I know you had him on last week, Mr. Jason Swanson with Avino. See, that is something that Avio. Okay, that is something that you would invest in now, because when it launches, when it's finished, that's going to be a huge platform. And this is me from the outside looking in. This is not having any inside information. This is me from the outside looking in, because what COVID has taught us is streaming is going to be the next wave. I teach 95 miles away from my building, but I teach effectively 95 miles away from my building because of the power of the internet and because of the power of being able to do it remotely. So when I want to show my class a presentation, I do it the night before and I stream it. Now, if I have a platform to do that on, my students can go to that platform and see it versus me having to compile it and cut it up and do it. Now, to invest locally, you want to find a startup, like I said. Now, if there's a business locally, what you do is, because all businesses, all of them have some type of savings or some type of account where they have an investor pool, because no one smart uses their own money to start a business. And when I say smart, I don't mean it's like you're dumb if you don't do it, but it's easier to get somebody else. Is you would rather lose somebody else's money than to lose yours, because they know what they're investing in, and if it doesn't work out, they take it as an investment loss. Mm-hmm. That being said, if you can get in with a business that's doing, I don't want to say well, but that is starting up, you want to invest there. The second thing, and I'm trying to phrase this correctly so I don't mislead anyone, is to just look at who's gone public. If they're publicly trading, that is the fastest and the most safest and the most effective way to invest if you want to invest in something local. Okay. Find them, look their business account up, and see if they're trading locally. Publicly. If they're trading publicly, you can invest your money there. Okay. Now, the first part of your question, repeat it for me so I want to make sure I get a detailed answer for you.
Mm-hmm. The first part of my question was, when we save, do we also need to think about investing? So, you save, but do we save at the same rate that we invest? And what I'm getting at is, a lot of people say saving is one thing, but investing is another. And then, so that was the first part. Okay. we do need to save, and right now, across the country, far too many households don't have $10,000 cash.
True.
Okay. A lot of us fall into that category.
Yes.
So that's that. But do we also need to talk about investing at the same rate? That was my first question.
All right. Okay. So this is my advice, and this is advice that I am soliciting. No, you save 2 to 1 so for every $100 you save, you invest 50. And people say, "Oh no, it's back." No, it's not backwards, because saving is a surefire way to get a return. Investing, depending on if you're an aggressive investor or if you're a more moderate conservative investor, it's like going to Vegas, honestly, because one day the stocks could be up and, oh man, I got $50 on my return, but then that next day, 9 o'clock, as soon as the market opens because China had a loss, now you're under the table for $50. Mm-hmm. So it's 2 to 1. For every 100 you save, and invest 50. Every 200 you save, invest 100. And what happens is you will see, and I call it an equational balance, from your slow and steady growth to your up and down, hilly growth. So you want to keep it even to where you're not stressing about the money that you're saving and investing, because that should be making money by itself, and this should be over here either gaining, and it can sustain the losses.
Okay. When it boils down to the most fundamental level, when you teaching young people math, you are potentially opening the gateway to a positive future for them. So I think that that's great. And I think that a lot of us are afraid of math. We're intimidated by the numbers. We're intimidated by the fact that, you've already got a lot of things going on in your life when you're a young person, and you open up that math book and you might understand what's going on in the first few pages, but you skip back about 70 pages and you know that the boogeyman is coming. And I want to encourage people to dig in. If you have a math teacher, like Mr. Terrence Walker here, invest the time that it's going to take for you to get confident with math, because if you get confident with math, it is those math performances that are going to get you into a competitive middle school, a competitive high school. You get into a competitive high school, guess what? You're getting into a competitive college, or you're picking up a competitive trade, and now you are in rooms with competitive people. So math is a core subject where I think that we need to dig our heels in a little bit deeper and make sure that our young people have a mathematical mind. Yes. And so I definitely want to give you some respect for being in this whole entire area that you're in right now. And I want to know, What was your childhood like growing up? What was your mother talking about to you, and what was your father talking about to you that made you the person that you are today? Let's go.
All right, so my mom. Let's start with my dad. My dad, he's a man of few words. He's a man of very, very limited play and during, in times of seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a very wise man. A lot of my sayings I get from him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how people say, well, if you should have did it, you would have did it. Any saying that I'm saying.
Yeah. Drop some. I got some too. My grandmother used to be going in.
Yeah. But see,
a couple of them. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, see, that's what I was going to say. A lot of my dad's sayings are more along the lines of a Richard Pryor Red Fox.
Oh, okay.
But they have, some type of, let's say, public objectivity to them. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
But I will say this. My dad is a very, very selfless and loving man. And we've had our ups and downs through the years. Like, we're not perfect. But if it's one thing I can say, that is my dog. That is my guy. That's somebody I know that has my back. And my mom, what can I say about my mom besides that? She is the epitome of what a strong Black woman would be. And people, they say that, but I mean that, and I'm not biased, even though she's my mom. It's what I've seen her not only go through, but how I've seen how she raised us. This is a woman that took her kids from Bed-Stuy to Coney Island to Virginia to make a better life for them, because she did not want, and she saw what was going on in New York. She's seen what could happen. So she said, no, that will not be us. That will not be us. So she, as most women do, took charge and moved us to Virginia. Coming here, her whole thing was, and I say this to my kids, and when I say my kids, I mean my students. I say this to my daughter as well. You already have 2 strikes against you. You're Black, and so I tell the guys you're a Black male, and I tell the ladies you're a Black female. I said, so you're going to have to try 10 times harder. You're going to have to do 10 times better. You're going to have to be 10 times more great than everything that is in front of you just to get the same recognition as someone who doesn't try because their skin is lighter than yours. That being said, don't you ever, ever give up. So my mom put that in me, and my dad capitalized on that by telling me, nobody is better than you, and you are no better than anybody else. But the one thing that you have is me and your mom. So having that instilled in me, that gave me I guess you could say, the courage to do more and to try and be more. So some of the lessons that they instill is a no quit, never say never attitude. My dad was joking with me yesterday. I was watching a football game with him. He said, I tell you what, you would never give up on them Giants. I said, well, Pop, you didn't raise a quitter. You always told us if you're going to be something, be all in or not. I said, if you said there's a 1% chance of winning, then take that 1% chance of winning and go with it. And You know what he said? He said, damn it, you're right. He said, but man, you still got to root for the Giants though. And we had a good laugh about it, but that's one of the many things that they taught me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Terrence, DJ T-Dub Walker, and he's not done. Grab somebody, tap somebody, text somebody, and tell them to tune in to America's Next Motivator. Like, subscribe, and follow, because we'll be right back with another half from Terrence Walker. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Terrence, how you feeling out there?
I'm good. I'm getting my whiteboard ready for your listeners.
Okay, all right.
Because
hey, let's go. What you got for us?
I had an idea, and I want to pass this on because I pass this on to my students.
Okay.
I have a question for your audience, and it's a rhetorical question, so you guys can answer it later. But I will ask this anyway.
Okay.
How many of you were taught the formula to get $1 million?
Let's go. I told y'all, get somebody else in the building. The formula to make $1 million. This is the magic question. Let's go.
Everyone wants to make $1 million. Everyone wants to have $1 million. So,
right.
This is what I tell, and I told my students this. I said, you are 13, 14, 15. I said, okay, so this is what we're going to do. By the time you're 16, everyone's going to get a job. So by the time you're 16, 16-year-old, you get a job. Most jobs that kids get going to be supermarket, fast food, something like that. So every 2 weeks, they're going to bring home about $250 to $270, right? So let's say you're going to bring home $250. So you're a kid. Your bills are paid for. School is paid for. Your transportation needs are met. Your phone is probably paid for, and you don't have any bills. So that that $250, I want you in a whole separate category to take 50, put it in a savings account that you do not touch, that you don't invest, you don't touch, you don't play with, you don't do anything. You leave it alone. This is for long-term, dedicated, structural saving. So you take that $50 every 2 weeks. So $50 times 26 for the first year. So what do we got? Where my math people at? All right. So let me get my calculator ready.
Hey, and while you playing, some of us grown folks only got about $50 after payday as well. So this is for you too.
Oh no, this is for everybody. Yeah. But I use my kids as an example because I make it tangible for them.
Right.
So you got $50 times 26. So that's $1,300. All right. So that's for that $1,300. Let's say for 3 years, because you're 15, 16, 17, 18. So you keep that job for 3 years. So that 1,300 times 3 years. So now that's $3,900. But with savings, we're gonna round it up to 4,000. All right. Now you've moved on. Let's say you're in college and you're working and you're making about 500 every 2 weeks. So now you take that 500 and add to that 4,000, and you're gonna take 200.
Valerie Jenkins, 1,352. Let's go.
There you go. All right, I'm rounding up. All right, so you take that 500 every 2 weeks. So now you're gonna add 100 every 2 weeks instead of the 50. So now I'm glad Ms. Jenkins is here.
Ms. Jenkins came through. Valerie.
Exactly. So 26 times 100.
Okay.
This is easy. Everyone know what that is, right? Everyone should know. 2,600 on top of the 4,000 that you already have. All right. So now in your savings account that you do not touch, you have $6,600. You haven't touched it. You're not going to play with it. And that's just in 5 years.
Okay.
So now you moved on. You're either graduated and you're in school, and now you have your job, your profession, that's what you want to do. So you take, let's say you're making money and you get paid either every week or every 2 weeks, but now you're making a salary. And your salary consists of, let's use a round number, $1,000 every 2 weeks, or $1,000 every week. So or let's say 2 weeks. So out of that $1,000 every 2 weeks, you take $400 and save. Or since we're going to do this monthly, you take 200 one week, 200 the next. So you take 200, but it's going to be $400 for the month.
Okay.
So $400 times 12. You got $4,800. Now you take the 48 plus the 66. You have 1140. All right. So now you have $11,400.
Mm-hmm.
That's after 7 years of saving.
Okay.
You're not touching this. All you're doing is adding to it. So a year down the road, you get a better job. So now you're making money. You're making, let's say you're working for a telecom company and you make $1,200 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So now each week you can take 300 and put aside.
Well, two things I want to pull out of what you're saying so far. The first thing that I realize is that people who are wealthy a lot of the time are people who are not spending their money. So I want to put much respect on that aspect of what you're saying, is that there are people who have what you call old money. And the reason why it's old money is because they might have made it 2 decades ago and they never spent it. And we have to really get into this concept of not letting your money go. Anybody could be, broke or not having as much money as they would like if they're always spending it. And part of the objective of financial adequacy is not always letting your money go. I think that sometimes because of the pace of the lives that we live, we are quick to let a dollar go because of what we feel like we need. And it's conversations like the ones that you're having with your students and the ones that you have with your daughter that really show us, hey, I thought that I needed this or that, but I don't actually need it. Right. And so that's the first part. Hold on to your money. Don't be afraid to hold on to your money. But the other thing I want to talk about is this. How do we get a little bit more aggressive about generating income in a year like 2020 where Instagram is showing you people who are getting on Forex? And I know we jumping off the screen a little bit, but it seems like you could think along these lines. But we got people, they hopping on Forex, they're doing some trading, they're buying a little bit of Bitcoin, and they're making money by the end of the month. Or another one, they're getting a hot t-shirt, they're outsourcing it and drop shipping it from China. They're 25, 26, and they telling you on YouTube that they're making $1 million. So, what do you think about those aspects? Where does aggression come in at when we talk about generating income?
Aggression comes into discipline. You have to be an aggressive disciplinarian. What I'm saying is, if you use the $500, let's say it's $500 example again. If you have $500, you have to be disciplined enough to only spend a certain amount of that $500. Because what you have and what you're holding, I call it your ticket. So you're holding your ticket. So are you going to give your ticket away, or are you going to use your ticket wisely? Because if you give it away, just spend it on what you want. But if you have the discipline, the belief, and the courage, you can let your money make money for you. Right. Because what COVID has taught me, let's do it this way. The early part of COVID, I wasn't disciplined. I was letting my mind get the best of me. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't where I needed to be because I had ideas and things that I needed to do that I didn't do. What happened was, after talking to someone I care deeply about, and after going to therapy, yes, Black men, we need to go to therapy or get a coach and talk for everyone in my community, because that is a good thing. It is nothing, no stigma about it. Everyone needs to talk to someone.
Let me say this real quick because that was a great point. Do we need to get into some sort of counseling and coaching in order to ever become financially responsible?
No, but what we need coaching for is for our inner self. Okay. Then we can become financially responsible, because our financial and our inherent whatever to numbers, we are I guess you can say, the lineage of great mathematicians and scientists.
Like who?
Like, those pyramids didn't build themselves.
Let's go.
They weren't built by aliens. Yeah. These pyramids are mathematically sound. If you look at the pyramids of Gaza on the Gaza Strip that formed the I forgot the name of the knife, the tip, or however they say it, the three that's together, that's by the if you look at the star, if you look at those pyramids, they are geometrically perfect, almost perfect. They didn't do that by happenstance. Right. You can do one perfect and make the other ones no. They did that because of how they designed it. Right. So when it comes to numbers, what the therapy and the coaching is to get you a better feel of yourself. And then you will instill, you can use the discipline in a more disciplined nature. So what happened with me is I did the coaching and I snapped back into what I needed to do. What COVID taught me is there are a lot of opportunities because I not only teach and I not only DJ, but I have a business where I put together furniture for people who don't have the time, don't want to do it, and don't know how to do it. So
that brings me to this.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, so what happened with COVID is that opened the door for another business for me. So now here I am. Okay, I can't DJ at a club, but I can go online. I can't DJ at a party because it's limited, but I can do online. So what can I do? I am good at my hands and I know how to put together stuff. Literally, I can look at instructions and put it together. So I did it for a friend of mine, then did it for another friend. Then the next thing you know, I was getting calls from friends of theirs. Hey, you put this together for XYZ. Can you put this? And it's what happened is it started rolling into, I was like, man, this is a pretty good lucrative business. So I came up with a business plan, came up with a business model, came up with a business name, and I'm set to launch hopefully January 18th, my mother's birthday, her 70th. Something that, she'd be proud of. Right. But it's more of the lines of take the time that you're in right now and look at what's going on. The people that's telling you they made $1 million, I don't believe them. And this is why. Because if you made $1 million, you're not, what millionaire brags about having $1 million?
Right. Most of them don't.
Exactly. So if I have to tell you how much money I'm making, I'm generally not making that much money.
Right.
So that's just my theory on the ones that's there. But there is a lucrative business in this the online printing business because I did team up with a couple and we started our own printing company. I did team up with another friend of mine to promote her edibles company. So what you find in COVID is the same thing I say about investing your money. You want to diversify. You spread yourself thin, but still keep it thick.
Absolutely. Two things. When you talked about the pyramids, I also want to add this to that because this is very powerful for you to say that we come from a lineage of mathematicians. Like I said, from firsthand experience, a lot of us are intimidated by math, but we have an affinity for math in our heritage.
Yes.
We have an aversion to math because we actually should have an affinity for math. We can't have a knack for math. It's in our heritage. Those pyramids were so concisely built that the dimensions of them not only line up with other geographic locations on planet Earth, but those pyramids line up with other locations across space. There are monuments and points on other planets and star systems out there in the sky that line up with those pyramids. And so they were taking numbers from the ground all the way clear out into the sky. So when you master those numbers, you can truly blast off into the stars. I want to make that plain and clear. But the other thing that we didn't touch on is you got to hustle. And you know how to hustle. That's the piece. We could talk about the math all day, but that don't come with the hustle. We have to get into the tune of the hustle as well. You became a DJ. When did that start, and how's that going for you? How's it been?
DJ part. So
let's go.
My brother and my cousin, they DJ like all the parties in Coney Island. We were there. Like if it was a party going on. And we've been called, if anybody's seen He Got Game, we've been calling it the Garden forever. So Coney Island houses the Garden. We had block parties out there forever. So they were DJing. And I picked up on it every now and then. I would try to, you're a little tight, you're trying to get on. But what I did and what I'm good at is watching. I'm a very precise watcher. I can watch and learn how to do something. So we moved to Virginia. My brother doing all the parties out in Norview, doing all the parties out in Tannis Creek, and he just having a good time. So he leaves, and I'm like, man, I got all this equipment here. What am I gonna do? So I practice, but I'm not, I guess you can say, secure enough to say, all right, I DJ, I'm gonna do this. So it just so happened, one of my friends was like, man, you should DJ, you should DJ. I'm like, no. And everyone knew I did it at home. Everyone knew I would make them tapes and everything, but I never was public with it. So fast forward to this party, and the DJ was more interested in talking to females than doing this gig. So I'm like, yo, you dude is trash, you whack. And they was like, my man Sean was like, yo, you DJ, man, why don't you get up there? I was like, nah, because you just DJs, no, you just don't go touch somebody else's equipment.
Right.
So he was playing a song and he was talking to, he was in this girl's ear, like, yap. And I was like, yo, you mind if I get on? He was like, go ahead.
Oh, he's different.
Oh, right. When he gave me the green light, Cedric, he gave me the green light, and I was like, oh, it's on. And after that party, everyone was like, yo, I didn't know that you did. Why are you keeping a secret? And I was like, went into my turtle shell. But after that party, it was like, boom, I launched. And I was Little Smokey or Little Flash. And then in 2002, a friend of mine, Phil, he actually owns Atlanta Fresh Baked Teas. He told me, he was like, you need to just reinvent yourself and shorten your name. And the next day he came back, he was like, this should be your new name. He said, keep it short and sweet. Your first name is Terrence, your last name begins with a W, T-Dub. Keep it. And after that, when I relaunched, man, the skies was the limit.
Right.
And the DJing part, we could talk about that the next 20 hours.
Well, I want to say this. First of all, much respect to all the DJs out there. I used to want to be a DJ. I was in middle school, and if you guys been watching these episodes, you know I'm always talking about middle school. It was a dynamic time. One of the kids I was in school with, he used to DJ at the skating rink after school, like on Fridays. And I mean, we were in like 7th and 8th grade, but he would have like, $500 in his pocket in school. Yeah. And so, and I always was infatuated with the DJ. He's listening to the best music. He's a part of the most major vibes, and then once he gets good at it, he's providing the vibes. So yeah. I do want you to talk about that experience a little bit. When did it start? Where were you? What did it sound like? What was going on?
When I call it the zone. The first time I got into the zone and said, you know what, I can make DJ real lucrative, was in the mid 90s. Well, no, early 90s. Right after I graduated, there was a party at Norfolk State. I was going to school. And I'm not going to say the name of the DJ. He's a well-known DJ. He came down and DJ'd the party. Mm-hmm. And he was DJing the party. I was like, yeah, I DJ from time to time. He was like, nah. He said, either you're going to DJ or you're not going to DJ. There's no DJing from time to time. Right. He was like, if you're going to take the craft seriously. Right. And I said, all right. And that made me think about a previous conversation that I had with another DJ that's no longer with us. And I told him it was their song that made me want to DJ. And I also told this to one of the other artists at the Comic-Con. And when he told me that, he said, DJing is the backbone of music, not the backbone of hip hop. It's the backbone of music. Right. He said, even rock bands have a DJ. He said, you may not see him, but there's somebody who's laying that track for them. There's somebody who's there providing extras for them. And I took that, what he said, and listen, and then practice. And what happened, I say, getting with Trigger the Gambler and Smooth the Hustler and learning different things and being with them and doing stuff with them, I learned even more. But then I realized it's also a business.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Did you ever merge the entrepreneurial mindset that you already had with the profession of DJing?
I did after you get burned. So you live and you learn. Okay. So what you have to realize is you're a DJ, you provide a great service, but you don't get paid until everyone else get paid. So you're like, unless you're Clue or Kid Capri, you're going to get paid around the bottom. So what happens is, as a DJ, you have to make sure that your stuff is separate from theirs. I don't care who you're with. Don't care what artist. No, because what happens is they do a show, they get a percentage of the show, then you get a percentage of what they get. So what you want to do is, hey, I don't care if I DJ for you. You want to have your stuff separate. Because if you're going to DJ that show, DJ that event, make sure your stuff is separate. Oh, it's XYZ and XYZ, and they're bringing DJ T-Dub. No, they're not bringing DJ T-Dub. DJ T-Dub is going to be on the ticket as a separate entity, regardless of who I DJ for. So you want to have it set up like that. Because the last thing you want to do is to get 50% of $50.
Right.
So every DJ out there, make sure you get your money.
So the DJ is a professional that should be taken seriously, and the DJ, when he does his craft correctly, can make a lot of money in 2020.
Yes. So I started my DJ coalition, Spin Syndicate. I have 25 DJs worldwide: Russia, Ghana, London, Japan, Cali, the United States. And we talked about this before. If you look up any of my DJs, a lot of us have taken down our stuff on YouTube. And this is, I tell my DJs, you can put your stuff on YouTube. I'm not against that. By all means, get your promotion. But if YouTube is going to monetize your work and not pay you, you're getting paid for crumbs. Don't get paid for crumbs. Don't let them use you. Don't be subjugated to a platform to get your views up for popularity, and you're not getting paid for it. Because when they pay Pfizer, when they play, Liberty Mutual to advertise on your 2-hour set, they're getting paid hundreds of dollars for that. And if they're paying you $10, that's not worth it. That's really not worth it. Especially if you have a 2-hour set and there's 6 to 7 commercials. So 6 to 7 at $100 a pop, $700, and you get paid $50 for it. No, that's not fair to you.
Right.
That's not fair to you. So I tell them, don't put your stuff up there. Don't put it up there.
You know what? We're rounding third base right now, but I want to make sure that we consolidate a few things for everybody who's been a part of this episode, and for those people who are going to watch this in the future. What we learned today, which was, I thought, extremely valuable, was that we live in a world of numbers, and understand that numbers are going to always be a part of your life. So become confident in that space. Also, invest wisely, save wisely, start an IRA, and hustle. Don't forget the hustle. This man has DJs all around the world. And so even though he's a teacher, he still DJs, and he maintains the hallmarks of the lessons that his parents taught him. As a matter of fact, just give us 10 seconds, a 10-second dedication to your mother and the things that she taught you. Go ahead.
Well, what I want to say to my mom and say to my parents, thank you for instilling what you instilled in me. Not only do I appreciate you guys, but I love you immensely. And for everyone else that's listening, if you have your mother, your father, your grandparents,
great grandparents.
Yeah, your grandparents. Like, if I could spend 10 minutes with my grandmother, that would be like life. But listen to what they're telling you, because everything they're telling you is for your benefit. So I want to thank my mom, my dad, for teaching me what I need to be taught, so I can teach that to the next generation.
Absolutely. What is survival to you?
Surviving for me, or surviving to me, is leaving a legacy that my daughter can say, that was my dad.
What is success to you?
Success is waking up each day, each and every day, with breath in my body, knowing that I can achieve anything that I'm setting out to do.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness is whatever you deem yourself to be. And I say that because Donald Trump thinks he's great, but that's his mindset. But if you have that mindset, it's your mindset. So you tell yourself you're great every day, and you will be great.
That's right. Terrence, I want to let you know that I've listened to your story today. I have learned your story, your perspective, and some of your philosophies. I appreciate that. Everybody out there in the audience, get your crown emojis ready, because not only do I want to give you your respect while you're still living, but I want to give you your crown. while you're still living as well. And I want to let you know, let the world know, Terrence, DJ Tub, T-Dub Walker, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having the platform to do that and for putting it out there for people to have, to listen, to not only go back and watch, but they can also regurgitate the information to others.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by, all right?
Hey, thank you, Cedric. Thank you, sir.
All right. There you guys have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do is stop by and pick it up.